Jetsima presents children's stories about the power of loving kindness.
Lotus the Great. After King Mordu and his warriors departed, the people of Lee were giddy with joy. Queen Lotus had saved them. They called her Lotus the Great. They brought fresh flowers to the palace. They bowed their foreheads to the ground. Artists created gold statues of Lotus throughout the land. "Don't let all this praise go to your head," her mother said. "The great deities have a way of puncturing pride." "Don't be silly, Mama," said Lotus. "The people love me. Bowing makes them feel good." She let out a little giggle. "Have you seen the statue of me making a fist to chase King Mordu away? Why, Lotus, you used to be so modest and humble. My people are happy to love me. Look at these beautiful tiger lilies they brought me today." Lotus gave a toss of her head. "And maybe you should call me Queen Lotus." Her mother quietly sighed. The young queen raised taxes to pay for the gold statues. She paid artists to paint glorious portraits of her sitting on her throne. She paid musicians to write songs praising her popular reign. She ordered all 20 princesses to be her personal servants. One of the princesses, a tall girl named Trusa, was particularly helpful. "The people adore you, Your Majesty. Why don't you allow them to bring you surprise gifts every afternoon? They would be so grateful." "What a good idea, Trusa!" exclaimed the queen. "I was starting to get a little bored." The tall princess smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. "And perhaps you should have banners made saying, 'Every day is Lotus Day.'" Imagining the banners, Lotus didn't notice the unpleasant, crafty smile. "Yes, Trusa, I will give a gold coin for the prettiest banner." Sad to say, Princess Trusa did not wish Lotus well. She herself longed to become the queen. "Lotus is younger," she thought. "Lotus will outlive me. Curses and worses. The only answer is a revolt. Yes, and if Queen Lotus pushes the people too far, there will soon be a revolution." Urged on by Trusa, Lotus asked the people to think up shows of devotion. Each day, soldiers assembled in the royal courtyard. Then they bravely stuck pins in themselves, or flogged themselves with whips, or even ate a handful of dirt. "This is how much I love the Queen," they would shout. Trusa smiled her unpleasant smile. It wouldn't be long now. One day, the Queen rounded the corner of a palace hallway where 2 guards were talking. "She's totally stuck on herself," said one. "Resentment is rising," said the other. "Soon she'll be chained in the dungeon." Lotus, who was listening behind a potted palm, shuddered. That night she had a dream about clanking metal monsters. They were clamping chains around her ankles and wrists. The next morning, over a breakfast of tea, bread and jam, Lotus told her mother what she had heard. "Chained in the dungeon, Mama! I've been praying and praying. How can I escape?" "I have no idea, dear." Her mother's teacup rattled as she put it down. "Maybe you should visit Sister Stacy." Lotus's eyes grew wide. "The old witch?" "That's what people call her, dear. But Sister Stacy claims to see the future, and she gives good advice. If you go, you'd better take some gold coins. I've heard she loves gold." Accompanied by the chief soldier, Queen Lotus set off with a jingling purse. Sister Stacy lived in a hut deep in the jungle. The chief soldier stood behind Lotus while she knocked on the bamboo door. "Yes?" a creaky voice sounded inside. "I'm Queen Lotus," called the girl. "I've come to see you." Hearing no answer, she added, "With some gold." The door swung open at once. In the shadow stood a humpbacked old woman. On her head was a dark, flowered shawl like a hood. Her eyes burned intensely beneath it. "Come in, little birdie." Lotus entered the shadowy hut. There was only one little window on the far wall. "Can you see the future?" asked the girl. "Sometimes," the old woman hissed. She shut the door and lit a candle. They sat at a round table with a wide, pointed crystal between them. Sister Stacy gazed deeply into the glowing stone. "Whoa-wee," she murmured. "I see you flying in the sky, carried by a huge white bird. Is that right?" "Yes," said Lotus. For some reason she liked this strange old woman. "That's Chenrezig. I fed him when he was a little white seagull." "Really?" Sister Stacy smiled warmly. "Chenrezig?" "Yes, he's my friend." Lotus lowered her voice. "He helped me win the survival race. But that was in the past. I want to know the future." The old woman's eyes burned. "Time is an illusion, birdie. In the crystal, the past is clear, but the future is murky. It's still hatching, don't you know?" She cackled like a hen. "Now I see a puppy peeing on a king." "That was also in the past," said Lotus. "I think Chenrezig helped me then too," she confided. "I love him." "Do you now?" The old lady's smile was friendly and warm. "Well, maybe he'll help you again, birdie." "Oh, I hope so. But why do you call me birdie?" "You like birds, don't you?" Sister Stacy's teeth gleamed. "Wait, here is something in the future. It's murky and blurred. I see a tall lady putting powder on a rose. How much gold do you have in that purse?" "Powder on a rose?" said Lotus. "Is that all?" She counted out 5 gold coins. "I was hoping to get some advice. My people don't love me anymore." "Advice is nice, if you pay me twice." Lotus put 5 more gold coins on the table. Sister Stacy closed her eyes. Her head swayed slowly back and forth. "Be careful, birdie, what you drink. Be humble, generous, and kind. Then you and your people will be happy again." The old woman's head snapped. Opening her eyes, she stacked the coins into 2 shiny piles. When Lotus left, Sister Stacy blew out the candle. Then she began to shrink. Her clothes vanished. Her body turned snowy white. It grew 2 feathery wings. Soon she had assumed the shape of a white seagull. Rising upwards, the bird flew out the little window. As the chief soldier and Lotus returned to the palace, a shadow flitted across the girl's face. Lotus looked up. "Chenrezig!" she cried. But the white seagull was gone. Soon the real Sister Stacy returned. She'd been out in the jungle gathering berries and herbs. Humming happily, she opened the door of her little hut. She sniffed the air suspiciously. Her eyes lit up. She spied the 2 stacks of gold coins gleaming on the table. Lotus thought about the advice she had received. Why should she be humble? Who ever heard of a humble queen? That was silly nonsense. The people still loved her, didn't they? Of course they did. Except for those 2 guards she heard talking. But deep in her heart, the girl suspected that the old woman spoke true. She, Lotus, really had been generous and kind before she saved the people of Lee, but they had turned her into a goddess. Yes, it was their fault, wasn't it? Even that wasn't quite true. She had allowed the people to glorify her. She had even encouraged it. And now they were ready to rebel. Maybe her mama was right. The great deities did have a way of puncturing pride. Lotus cancelled the shows of devotion and the surprise gifts. She ordered all the banners burned. The people waited to see what would happen next. It was almost as if they were holding their breaths. It is so hard to change, really change. Lotus sat and prayed. She prayed to the great deities, especially Chenrezig. Many days passed. She prayed and prayed. It was painful, but Lotus had to admit she was wrong. She'd been acting like a spoiled little child. But maybe it wasn't too late. Humble, generous, and kind, the old woman said. Lotus lowered the taxes people paid. She told the 20 princesses to stop being her servants. She ordered the gold statues melted down for coins. She used the money to buy things her people needed. And before long, prosperity reigned once more in the land of Lee. Princess Truce's smile became even more unpleasant. The people are happy again, she thought. Curses and worses. Now I'll never have a chance to become queen. But then an evil plan began to form in her brain. In just a month it would be Queen Lotus's 11th birthday. There would be a big celebration at the palace with music, dancing and wine. Princess Truce grinned a wicked grin. Maybe she would have a chance to become queen after all. Yes, after Lotus's tragic death, she, Truce, would bribe the chief soldier to help her win the feather drawing ceremony and become the next queen. Queen Lotus continued to see the needs of her people. She was generous, humble, and kind. She was popular again. But she kept remembering the old witch's words. A tall lady putting powder on a rose. And be careful what you drink. What did it all mean? The last part was clear. The girl closely inspected everything she drank, even water. But who was putting powder on a rose? And why? The big day arrived. Birthday presents filled the throne room. The banquet table was set with tall vases of tiger lilies, gleaming gold plates, soft linen napkins, and rose-shaped wine glasses. Queen Lotus and the 20 princesses took their places. Smiling servants poured rare rice wine. Recalling the witch's words, Lotus watched carefully. She received wine from a freshly opened bottle. A great commotion erupted outside the palace. Shouts, clashes, and yells. Everyone jumped up to look out the window. 3 angry guards were fighting in the courtyard. They must have been drinking to the Queen's health a little early. No one suspected that Princess Truce had bribed the guards to stage a loud fight. While everyone was looking out the window, Truce quickly opened a little packet. She sprinkled a clear powder into the Queen's wine glass. Returning to the table, Lotus once again recalled the fateful words, "Be careful what you drink." A tall lady putting powder. "To the long life and happiness of Queen Lotus." Princess Truce held her wine glass in the air, proposing a toast. Lotus gaped. Truce was a tall lady, and the glasses were shaped like roses. "Wait!" Queen Lotus held Truce's arm. "That was a lovely toast. As a sign of our friendship, let's exchange glasses before we drink." Princess Truce went pale as a ghost. She appeared to be choking. The Queen insisted, and Truce refused. She started to sob. Finally, she confessed to putting a slow-acting poison into Lotus's wine. Everyone gasped. 2 guards led Truce away. "How did you know, Your Majesty?" the chief soldier asked. Queen Lotus smiled calmly, though she was churning inside. "After King Mordu left, I wanted the people to glorify me. I was so proud of myself. My mother told me, but I was too foolish to listen." She paused. "But then I went to see Sister Stacy. She gave me a prophecy and some good advice. I think an old friend helped me too. I'll try to rule wisely from now on." Everyone cheered. The Queen really was Lotus the Great now. And the moral is, beware the lure of selfish pride. Your own true nature shines inside.